Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, para hadirin dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Pertama dan utama sekali kita memanjatkan kesyukuran ini kepada Allah dapat kita meneruskan yakni program ini, menjawab ini kemusykilan ini agama, yang mana kita berdoa kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala, mudah-mudahan Allah memberikan kepada kita taufik ini dan hidayah, dapat kita melaksanakan segala perintahnya, meninggalkan segala larangannya, insya-Allah taala. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Jadi insya-Allah seperti biasa kita akan masuk ini kepada soalan kita yang ditujukan. Maka kita soalan pertama ini pada hari ini menanyakan di sini. Ia menanyakan Assalamualaikum Ustaz. Waalaikumsalam. I would like to clarify on dropshipping. Is it permissible in Islam for us Muslims to do dropshipping? Thank you for taking the time to answer. Question is asking on the ruling for engaging in the transaction that is called dropshipping. Type the transaction of dropshipping it is a situation where a person does not own any of the products, but he engage with the supplier, and when there is any order that comes from the customer, he informs the supplier to send the product to the customer. So he is basically like an agent who promote the product of the supplier, and he takes any profit from the transaction. So this basically what people are doing nowadays, that is called dropshipping. So the question is asking whether it is permissible in Islam to do any dropshipping or not any permissible. So the situation is a person is promoting something on behalf of another party, and after that the transaction occurs, and the product is sent from the other party to the customer. Number one, what is important, the first thing that we have to understand when we are speaking about dropshipping, or we are doing any online transaction in Islam, we have a chapter that is called the chapter of Salam, the buying and selling of based on Salam. Buying and selling based on Salam, it is buying and selling which is compulsory for the seller to provide the details or the specifications of the product that he is selling, and it is upon the customer to pay in advance. So this is basically buying in terms of what is mentioned as salam. So the product must be clear in the specification, because in Islam it is not permissible to engage in buying and selling on something that you are not sure of. For example, if I am selling something and the customer do not know what is the product, what is specifications of the product, because the product is not present in what you call it, in the transaction. So if the product is not clear, it will not be permissible in Islam. So what is important when we are speaking about online transaction? Always we have to make sure that the specifications must be clear. And usually what we see nowadays, this e-commerce that is going on, usually they are good at making all these specifications, and usually it is clear. Usually all products, whether you're speaking about buying handphones or buying electronic products or even clothes and so on and so forth, so it comes with a very detailed form of specification. So this is permissible when it comes to the transaction based on salam. And usually in e-commerce nowadays also, that people need to pay the amount first. So this is basically the Islamic concept of buying and selling in salam. This point number one, that those who are engaging in this dropshipping, you must understand about the rulings of salam. And if you have never heard about what is the meaning of buying and selling based on salam, now it is wajib for you to learn about the conditions, because if you are engaging in this kind of buying and selling, you must be aware about this ruling, because usually a lot of Muslims out there which I come across, they are doing many kinds of transactions, not only any transactions based on salam, transactions based on investment, transactions based on on a lot of things. But you will find a lot of our Muslims they are not they do not know about the rulings of of these types of transactions. So it is important that we at least have some basic knowledge on buying and selling based on salam. This is point number 1. So we have not finished yet about dropshipping. So point number 1, it is about buying and selling of salam. So usually there is no issue when it comes to salam. What I see, there is no issue in buying and selling. The issue can arise if the seller does not provide the correct specifications. Then it can it can be an issue. The second thing is what we call it as al-wakala. Here the customer acts as an agent. The person who is doing this dropshipping, he is an agent to the supplier. He is seen as an agent to a supplier. So you are basically selling something that you do not actually own that product, but you are promoting that product from somebody else, and you are taking profit from this kind of transactions. In Islam, it is permissible. In Islam, it is permissible for a person, for example, to sell on behalf of somebody else. For example, I do not own handphone, for example. I do not own a particular handphone, for example, and I want to sell it. I want to sell it. And with the permission, of course, and with the permission of the owner. With the permission of the owner, and with an agreement, for example, on the on the percentage of profit that I get if I sell certain things. In that situation, it is permissible for me to engage in buying and selling, because in Islam, the actual ruling in Islam, that it is not permissible for you to sell something that you do not own. But here, when it comes to dropshipping, it is different. Yes, you do not own the product, but you have an agreement, you have an agreement with the supplier that you are selling on behalf of the supplier. So this is permissible, and taking profit from this kind of transactions is permissible. So there are two things here that we have to take note. Number 1 is what I mentioned, buying and selling based on salam. Number 2 is al-wakala. Also, we have to understand the conditions of becoming an agent. So, for example, if you go back into the books of fiqh, our scholars, for example, they say that the transaction based on wakala, it is jaiz. It is a transaction that is jaiz, meaning at any point of time you can break meaning you can go out of the contract, meaning not obliged to continue with what you are selling. And this is what I see nowadays in e-commerce, people do any dropshipping based on their capacity. Whenever they want to continue, they continue. Whenever they want to stop, they just have to inform the supplier that they are stopping, for example. So this is basically the ruling on the common dropshipping, unless there is a change. Unless there is a change in the policy of the contract, that carries a different ruling. So basically, what I'm speaking is the general understanding of dropshipping. But maybe in the future, certain things might change, certain contracts might change. Then we have to look. Then we have to look at those changes and come out with certain type of ruling to explain. Jadi soalan ini menanyakan berkenaan dengan hukum melakukan dropshipping. Dropshipping, satu orang itu dia tidak memiliki sesuatu, tetapi dia jual sesuatu sebagai apa kita mengatakan, apabila dia jual barang tersebut, maka dia mendapatkan suppliernya, orang yang pemilik barang tersebut, untuk menghantar barang tersebut kepada yang membelinya. Maka apa hukumnya? Maka di sini kita mengatakan dia jual beli salam. Yakni maksudnya pembeli mesti mengetahui barangan tersebut dengan terperinci. Ini perkara yang pertama, dan selepas itu bayaran mesti dilakukan dengan spontan. Dan ini yang biasa berlaku di online transaction hari ini. Biasa bayaran dilakukan dahulu, sebab ini semua ni jual beli salam. Semua ini online transaction yang kita lihat di sini pada hari ini, semua yang ini salam. Semua adalah jual beli salam. Dan perkara yang kedua adalah berkenaan dengan wakalah. Kita mewakilkan. Kita ni ibarat ini seorang yang mewakili dalam agama kita.